Namaskaram. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. Today I have the pleasure of company of Sri Pratish Vishwanath from Kerala, fondly called as Kerala Shivaji. We will know a little bit more about why he is called that, and also we want to talk about a very important topic that he is one of the first few people to bring this to light, that is love jihad. Pratish ji, namaskaram and welcome to P Guru's channel.
Namaskaram, namaskaram.
So Pratish ji, you have been working on this for a long time about the challenges that Kerala faces. We all have heard about the changing demographics of Kerala, how the percentage of Hindus has been going down for various reasons. People are, having fewer children. That is one challenge. The other one is that there is also a conversion challenge, and there's also this love jihad. And many of these things have really hurt Kerala in a big way until last few years, when it became an issue that everybody across the country started, talking about it. So where did it all start for you, sir? And you've been at the forefront of this for a long time. So why don't you take us down the journey as to how it got started and where we are today?
Actually, Kerala is the land of Akara, Narayan Guru, and Sri Ayangali, the great revolutionary. Such a spiritual land, it's a real Godson country, Devbhumi. But today's situation in Kerala is the hub of all anti-national, especially anti-Hindu activities. Like if you see the entire jihadi activities, the center point is from Kerala. The largest number of the ISIS recruiters are from Kerala. If you go and even Kashmir is behind Kerala in that. And if you go to anywhere in Asia or anywhere in the world, you can see an evangelist or nun from Kerala. Almost 75,000 nuns have got training from Kerala and gone out for across India for conversion. It's a hub of evangelist activists also. And if you take any anti-national activities, even it is Hathras, even if it is in Delhi, riot, anywhere, there is a link with Kerala, because the urban Naxal, jihadi fanatics, and the evangelist activists all are very strong in Kerala. Other than that, the political Islam is having a very much influence in Kerala, because Kerala is the only state today political Islam is controlling the entire socio-political scenario. That is the situation in Kerala. But where Hindus are standing is Hindu population is declining from to 1920 itself. So today the population of Hindus are almost below 50%, and the land, our land holding is only 22%, and the business holding is only 17%. If you go to bank transaction, it is on 14%. So the Hindu genocide is happening in Kerala. It's silently happening. It's not like Kashmir. It's happening in socially, economically, politically. Hindus are getting isolated in all the way. So the one of the topic which you have mentioned is the love jihad. Love jihad is one of the main issue which started from Kerala, because love jihad is a phenomena. It's not an organization. It's a phenomena which is done by various organizations and supported by various organizations and funded by various organizations globally. Not it's a local issue. It's a global issue. And they are getting funds from across the world to convert or lure Hindu girls. So I was RSS Swayamsevak from childhood. At the age of 4, I started going to Shaka. So I got inspired with RSS ideology, and the organization inspired me to give the certain amount of my life to Hindu activism. So I became full-time pracharak at the age of 20. Then I started working in tribal areas, when in Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, some part of Gujarat, and Tamil Nadu and Kerala. So that time I came to know about the missionary Naxalis nexus, how it is working, how they are coordinating with anti-nationals and all those things. I got a very deep knowledge, and I got very vast experience in that. But in 2004 onwards, I got one of our organizational adhikari. He told me to go and do some research on the Islamic fanatic activism of South India. So there is a phenomena was coming up that so many Hindu and Christian girls and boys getting converting, and they have been used for various terrorist activities. So then I started researching on it. Then I started going after this convertees, why they converted and how they were getting converting, and what is the real situation after converting, what is happening to them. These 3 points I am going to mention, especially about Love Jihad. Love Jihad is a professional program designed by one Dr. K.P. Farooq. He's a Pakistan origin. He was in London. He was one of the supporter of and ideologue of Lashkar-e-Toiba and other Islamic fanatic organizations who is working in, from Pakistan, especially in Kashmir and other parts. He has designed this program. It's a 5-step program. He is telling that the India is the country where after 600 years of inversion, 600 years of ruling, we could not convert this land completely into Islam. Why? Because the culture and the family system, and the reason for the family system is the woman of India, Hindu family. So we need to target them. It is a jihad without sword and blood. This is the word of Dr. K.P. Farooq.
Quick question. You mentioned some numbers about land ownership of Hindus, bank accounts, and so on. So I was just curious if you happen to have read this book of mine. Can you take a look at the book?
Yeah.
Have you read this book?
No.
Okay. Sorry. So this takes place in Kerala, and I explain why one particular community has got so much access to money, whereas the others don't have it. But I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to ask you one question on what you said. So if the Muslim men, or who are this Dr. Farooqi said target the Hindu women, and I'll let you finish that thing, but I have a question. Why isn't the reverse also being tried by the Hindus of Kerala? Why are you not targeting the Muslim women?
Basically, it is not our dharma, but I will answer that question after this finishing.
Good. I just wanted to put a hook there. Please go ahead.
Yeah, right. So then they started, he talked about a plan, doctrine, like Love Jihad. It's a 5-step program. First, you go and impress. It's a jihad without sword and blood. That's what his statement was. Then it's first you and contact through email, through media, direct, or whatever the way you start through mobile shop, go and contact. Second is you impress them, giving gift or trying to get their savior, and you impress them. Third one is you go and entertain them, taking them to movies, tour programs, and other things, and whatever the way you can, you entertain them. Fourth one is the emotional approach. You go, once you get into confidence, you go for a physical attachment and relation, and then you start blackmailing it. So fourth one is the emotional approach, and fifth one is the conversion. 6 months program designed by this Dr. Farooq and implemented by lot of Islamic fanatic organizations in front line, and lot of organization from working behind the scene also. Even some political leaders, the so-called political leaders, so-called political party leaders from Muslim community is directly and indirectly supporting this phenomena. When I came to know in March in 2006, more than 4,000 Hindu Christian girls got converted from the professional colleges of Kerala. And the root cause was the implementing by the Zakir Naik followers, and the right hand of Zakir Naik, Imam Akbar, is directly implementing this project for converting Hindu and Christian girls. So people will ask, then what is there for only it's a love, and it's not a love. It's a clearly targeting Hindu community and certain extent Christian community. It's like a human rights violation. It's like an anti-social, anti-Hindu, and anti-national activity. Because why I am saying is that people will ask what will happen after they got converted. So many people are asking, because I know some Muslims who is living happily with their Hindu wives and all. So many people are telling and taking so-called celebrities example. But I will tell you 2-3 incidents why it is so dangerous and why it is connected with a direct Islamic terrorism. I don't know, somebody has already explained about this, but I have done the research on that. Because when Bangalore Chinnaswamy Stadium bomb blast happened, they
IPL.
arrested one.
IPL.
Yeah, they arrested one Shahina who done all the logistic support. She all the SIM card taken by her name, but Shahina is not a Muslim. Shahina was Deepa Chiryane, Orthodox Christian from Pantalam. When 2014 bomb blast happened in Patna, I was there in Narendra Modi's rally. There 5 blasts happened. When the inquiry went, it gone to Mangalore, and Mangalore, they got the lead that the fund came through one Aisha's account. She was not Aisha. She got converted. She was Asha. Nimisha converted to Fatima. She is from Trivandrum. Taken to ISIS. Now in Afghanistan jail. Marin Sebastian converted to Islam. Taken to ISIS. And the man who was the right hand of Abdul Nasser Madani, who did the bomb blast in Coimbatore, he is Yusuf. His name is Mani from Toothukudi, Tuticorin of Tamil Nadu, got converted through a Muslim lady. The man who was with Israt Jahan, who came to kill Honorable today's Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, his name is Javed. But actually, he is from Kerala. His name was Pranesh Kumar. And the Easter bombing happened in Sri Lanka. Easter bombing happened in Sri Lanka 2 years back in April 2020. The entire logistic support done by Pulastini Mahendra. She is a Tamilian. She was a Hindu, got abducted and then converted, then used for the logistic support of the Eastern bombing. So such hundreds of examples are there. They have taken, they are lured and converted and taken Hindu girls to terrorist camps and used for terrorist activities. So the 1%, some percentage of girls are being used for terrorist activities. Some percentage they are taking to prostitute centers. I have rescued more than 60 girls from Kolkata, Bangalore, and Mumbai. All are from Kerala, basically, 2 from Tamil Nadu. They were also lured by Islamic jihadists, and then they sold out them to prostitute centers. And some are being taken for second, third, and fourth wife of Muslims. You can see many in Mysore, many in Mangalore, many in Malappuram, many in even Tamil Nadu. So still they are there, so many people. Only some percent exemption. I don't know how many, 1 or 2% will be there still continuing with us, husband and wife. We are not against that also. But if you are targeting a particular community in the name of religion, using love as a tool, that is not acceptable at all. That's why I researched on it, and then I brought out this fact before the High Court of Kerala, Honorable High Court of Kerala. Then High Court also accepted it. Then the judgment of Justice K.T. Shankaran clearly said that it is existing. So this is the one part which they are doing. And second part, I am coming that what the measures we are taken. Before going to that, I will answer the question which you have raised, why Hindus are not doing it. If any Muslim girl is getting into love with a Hindu boy naturally, not in the name of religion or whatever, so love is a human nature, we know that. So if it is a natural thing, if they need any help, already we are doing it. We are not purposefully targeting a community and using the boys and exploiting the girls, and that is not our dharma. We won't do that. But if anybody wants to save from that particular parda, somebody wants to come out from that parda or hijab, definitely we will help them and we will make all arrangements. I think in Kerala itself, last 10 years, more than 7,000 Muslim girls embraced the Hindu tradition, which we directly involved in that. We help them. It was not our plan. It naturally happens, but normally they get threatening, they get legal issues. So many issues will be there. That we are providing them all the support in that. That is my answer to that.
Thank you for that, addressing my question. I have a follow-up, if you will allow me. Now, so when they convert back to Hinduism, the rehabilitation, there are two parts. One is acceptance in the family, their near family, parents, brothers, sisters, and so on. But if they are married and they come back, how do we help them get remarried again? I'll give you an example, Pratishji. I think in Haryana, the ratio of boys to girls is 1,000 to 850, that low. Have you looked at, trying to get some girls and see if the Haryana boys will be interested in marrying them? I'm just throwing a question out there. I'm sure it has crossed your mind. Maybe you can perhaps share a little bit about what your experience has been in that.
We started rescuing girls because in 2006, I personally got this feeling that if a Hindu girl getting converted by luring these people, and we are not able to rescue them, we are not able to convince them, then there is no point in being as a Hindu activist. That was my concern that time. So I have decided that we will provide all the legal, organizational, and whatever the support they need, and we will rescue them at any cost. So I started at 24 hours helpline for love jihad victims. So if any family is getting into love jihad, their daughter is getting into love jihad, or they are taken, kidnapped or lured by jihadis, they can contact our helpline and we will immediately provide the support. That was my statement in 2006. Then we started that helpline, and then some days we were getting 40 to 50 cases per day sometime. Now it has drastically come down. Then we started how we can help. Then we gone for legal measures and all. More than 5,000 habeas corpus has been filed in last 10 years before Honorable Kerala High Court only. So we made a system. One is to approaching the court. Second is to pressurizing the police. Third one is to taking the girls for counseling. We started counseling centers and we started training counselors for that. And after counseling, their rehabilitation. In this rehabilitation issue, which you have raised that question, when first 3 years, we were getting that issue that especially upper caste people, even Brahmins, Nampudris, Nayars, upper caste people, parents were not ready to accept the love jihad victims. After convincing there also, it was very difficult. So then we found out a way that we started asking our karyakartas, Hindu activists, you come forward and marry these girls. I personally contacted 217 such marriages in that time. But now the situation is that one is almost 99% of parents are ready to accept them back. That much awareness has been created. Second is the Hindu youth are ready to marry love jihad victims. There is no hesitation, no issue, because everybody has realized that it is our dharma. We need to save this. We need to solve this issue. So now that is not a problem here. Haryana, I know that is a social issue now, but after Beti Bachao campaign, that ratio is slowly changing. And that's what when I met Katarji at that time, he said that it is a ratio is getting changed.
Good to know that. And thanks for clarifying that thing. Now, see, there is I'm sure not every Muslim family wants to be part of this love jihad. It might be a small percentage. Whatever be the thing, the other change that needs to happen is amongst the community itself. The Muslim community needs to introspect. Isn't this tearing the fabric of this state? I'm also hearing, and I'll be very direct with you, Pratishji, the reproductive rate of the Hindu woman across India is, I think, 1.5 or something like that. Whereas the reproductive rate of a Muslim woman is considerably higher. I think 2.6, or it could be even more than that. I'm not 100% sure. Now, this is also presents some demographic challenges down the road. How is your community, I mean, how is your organization trying to bring about, after all, the number of children you're going to have is directly going to relate to your standard of living. That's how I see it. And Kerala being such an educated state, why are they also having such a high reproductive rate?
So see, it is actually, production is one of the main activity of that community. So they won't stop it because they believe in number game. They believe in number game. So their religious leaders are asking people to produce more children. So they want to conquer the country, conquer the world. For the number is very much essential. That's why they are doing it. Education has not made much this effect on this issue, because we have been seeing that doctors, college professors, engineers, businessmen in Kerala, Muslim community, so many people are having 4 children, 5 children, 6 children. After the campaign of the government that we need only 2, but they are not, still they are not obeying it, because it's an intention to conquer the country through the numbers by increasing the production. But the demographic changing, I want to bring out one more social aspect in that. When we have done the research, late marriages are affecting very drastically. Not only the increasing production of the Muslims, increase the number of Muslims, that is there. But the late marriages, because we have been doing survey in each panchayat, average 1,000 to 1,200 boys who are in the age group of 35 to 50 are unmarried. In the same panchayat, if you go and do the survey among Muslims, it will be below 5. So, population control is the one method to bring it. This is a high time, and the government is already working on it. We are all trying to pressurize this also. That is the only way for nationwide control of this. But in Kerala, especially in Kerala concern, if I am talking that this late marriage issue, because the 38-year-old Hindu boy and going for his wedding card, giving for a Muslim classmate, he is sitting with his grand children.
Yeah.
So this is the ratio is 1:3. Our one generation means there are 3 generations. So that is the biggest, it's a social issue. We are trying to educate Hindu community organizations, community leaders and youths, especially to changing the attitude.
I just want to bring your attention back to my book. See, this book tries to explain how it is that the minority community got so much money at their disposal. See, if you say that they have got a lot of land, then they must have had some means to get that land. And it is my hypothesis, even though this is a fictional book, it is based on some facts, that a lot of fake currency came through and landed in India, and it went to a minority community, and suddenly money was not a problem anymore. So you have this other challenge. You mentioned that the Hindu boys are taking longer to marry. Could it be that economically they are not stable enough, which is why they are pushing it out? And the other side, since the money is already there, that's not a problem?
Not only that, that is one reason. I agree with you, because economical standard and the living standard which they are making it with a fake currency or hawala or Middle East money, whatever. That is one reason. But another reason is that the Hindu family is having some, not like North Kerala, it's North India. In Kerala, they are keeping some criteria. You should have a job or business, or you should have a house, you should have a car, and then only you should go for this, and then you go for seeing your caste, then your horoscope, then the right time. All these things are dragging. It's an internal problem of Hindu community. I'm accepting it. We are trying to change it also through education. But the other thing which you have said, so I have interacted with the former chief minister some 10 years back regarding the Love Jihad issue. He's the only man who accepted it and told in a press conference that it is a reality. It's a communist chief minister, V.S. Achyutanandan. He conducted a press conference in Delhi after my meeting with him. So then he, while in that press conference, he was telling that the target is to making Kerala as an Islamic country within 20 years. That's why they are giving money and they are luring girls and all. So when my meeting happened with them, then he directed me to some officers to interact with them about the informations and all. Then one of the officers told me in 2009, I'm telling, and he said per year 30,000 crore is coming to Kerala through hawala, through some other channels and fake currency and all. And it is pumping to all the sectors, including political, media, and land, real estate, whatever. So what you are saying is correct. Your book, your return is absolutely right. This money is playing a key role in building narrative and supporting this all anti-Hindu, anti-national activity. And the main concern is that not a single Muslim organization or leaders are coming out against this.